Hello students, welcome to Exam Vidya Academy. Today onwards, I am going to start the MCQ series for Indian polity. Indian polity is one of the most important topics for many competitive exams as well as other exams. We must know about each and every topic of Indian polity. In this series, each and every topic will be covered easily and quickly. First, I will conduct quiz for the question. After that, I will discuss about the important facts of the question which will be helpful for you for solving direct as well as indirect questions related to the topics. In this video, we will discuss about the topic making of the Indian Constitution. This is part 1 of this topic. First, I will conduct the quiz for each and every question. After that, I will give the important facts of the question through which you can solve the direct as well as indirect questions related to the topics. If you are new on my channel or didn't subscribe my channel yet, please hit the subscribe button, click the bell icon so that you can get the notification of my new videos. My channel also provides the study materials for UGC NET exam, other competitive exams as well as school exams and current affair topics also. Once you check out the playlist of my channel. First, I will conduct the quiz for the question. After that, I will discuss the important facts related to the question or topic. First question is, the idea of a constituent assembly was put forward for the first time by? Options are given here. Time is also allotted to you. The correct option is M. and Roy. Now the time for discussing the important facts related to the question or topic. Here we will discuss about the development of Constituent Assembly in a chronological order for solving many direct as well as indirect questions related to the topic or question. An idea for a Constituent Assembly was proposed in 1934 by M. and Roy. Who was he? We must know. A pioneer of the communist movement in India and an advocate of radical democracy. After that, the official demand for Constituent Assembly was also started by Indian National Congress in 1935. Then C. Rajagopalachari voiced the demand for a Constituent Assembly on 15th November 1939 based on adult franchise and was accepted by the British in August 1940. After that August offer, on 8 August 1940, a statement was made by Viceroy Lord Linlithgow about the expansion of the Governor-General's Executive Council and the establishment of a War Advisory Council. These 2 points are very important about the August offer. This offer, known as the August offer, included giving full weight to minority opinions and allowing Indians to draft their own constitution. Then eventually, Cabinet Mission Plan. The Constitution of India was drafted by the Constituent Assembly and it was implemented under the Cabinet Mission Plan on 16th May 1946. The members of the Constituent Assembly were elected by the provincial assemblies by a single transferable vote system of proportional representation. This is also very important question. Then, what is the chronological order of the Constituent Assembly? First, proposal by M. and Roy, then official demand by Indian National Congress, then demand by C. Rajagopalachari, August offer, and finally Cabinet Mission Plan. The Constituent Assembly was set up according to the proposals of. We have already discussed about this question, so I think this is very easy for you. Options are given to you. Time is also provided to you. What is the correct option? The correct option is the Cabinet Mission. Now, we will discuss some important facts about the Cabinet Mission. The Cabinet Mission reached Delhi on March 24, 1946. The members of the Cabinet Mission. This is also very important question. Lord Bentinck Lawrence, Secretary of State for India. Sir Stafford Cripps, President of the Board of Trade, and A.V. Alexander, First Lord of Admiralty. Then the main objective of the Cabinet Mission was to set up Constituent Assembly for framing new constitution for the United India. Now the question is about the fundamental duties. Which article of the Constitution of India deals with the fundamental duties? This is very important point for Indian polity. Everybody should know about your fundamental duties. The correct option is Article 51A. Now the time for discussing the important facts related to the fundamental duties. We all know that fundamental duties are not the part of our original constitution. It was added later. When it was added, it is also very important question for exam perspective. After 42nd Amendment of Indian Constitution in 1976, it was added on the recommendation of Sardar Swarn Singh Committee report. This is also very important question. Then which part and article were added? Part 41A, Article 51A. Numbers of the fundamental duties. Initially, 10 fundamental duties were added. One more duty was added after 86th Amendment of Indian Constitution. So, at the present time, total 11 fundamental duties are there in Indian Constitution. So, what fundamental duty was added after 86th Amendment of Indian Constitution? It is also very important question for exam perspective. It added a duty on every parent or guardian to ensure that their child or ward was provided opportunity for education between the ages of 6 and 14 years. Then one more important question about fundamental duty is, from which constitution Indian Constitution's framer adopted the concept of fundamental duties? From Russian Constitution, Indian Constitution's framer adopted the concept of fundamental duties. How many sessions were held in the Constituent Assembly? The answer is 11. The Assembly met for the first time in New Delhi on 9 December 1946 and its last session was held on 24th January 1950. There were 11 sessions of the Constituent Assembly. Here is the list of all the sessions of Constituent Assembly with timing. First session 9 to 23 December 1946. Second session 20 to 25th January 1947. Third session 28th April to 2nd May 1947. Fourth session 14 to 31st July 1947. Fifth session 14 to 30 August 1947. Sixth session 27th January 1948. Seventh session 4th November 1948 to 8th January 1949. Eighth session 16th May to 16th June 1949. Ninth session 30 July to 18th September 1949, 10th session 6 to 17 October 1949, 11th session 14 to 26 November 1949. Means the two sessions were held in 1948. Only one session was held in 1946. Four sessions were held in 1947, and the maximum number of the sessions were held in 1949. Total 5 sessions were held. The assembly met once again on 24th January 1950 when the members appended their signatures to the Constitution of India. Now the question is, which article is referred to as the jewel of the Constitution? Options are given. Select the correct option. Everybody must know about this article. The correct option is Article 32. Now we should also know about the important facts. Why Article 32 is referred as the jewel of Indian Constitution. First is right to constitutional remedies. Article 32 provides the right to constitutional remedies to Indian citizens whenever their fundamental rights are violated. So it is the part of the fundamental rights of Indian citizens, or part 3 of Indian Constitution. Supreme Court issue the writs under this article. The Supreme Court of India can issue the 5 writs, i.e. habeas corpus, mandamus, prohibition, quo warranto, and certiorari whenever the fundamental rights of Indian citizens are violated. Now, the time for knowing about some important quotes and a statement about the article, which is oftenly asked in competitive exams. Dr. Ambedkar said, Article 32 is the soul of the Constitution and very heart of it. L. Chandra Kumar vs. Union of India and others case, it is said that Article 32 is an integral and essential feature of the Constitution and constituted its basic structure. Supreme Court has power to issue writs under Article 32, while High Courts have been given same powers under Article 226. Further, the power to issue writs can also be extended to any other courts by Parliament via making a law for local limits of jurisdiction of such courts. The court-martial, i.e. the tribunals established under the military law, have been exempted from the writ jurisdiction of the Supreme Court and High Courts via Article 33. This is also a very important question. Which writ gave the meaning we command in letters? The correct option is mandamus. About the meaning of the writs, questions have been repeatedly asked in many competitive exams as well as other exams. So we must know about the meaning of these writs and when they are issued. Habeas corpus. This is the Latin word. The meaning of this word or writ is to have the body of. This writ is used to enforce the fundamental right of individual liberty against unlawful detention. Means this writ helps to protect the individual liberty of Indian citizen. Mandamus. The literal meaning of this writ is we command. This writ is used by the court to order the public official who has failed to perform his duty or refused to do his duty to resume his work. Prohibition. The literal meaning of prohibition is to forbid. A court that is higher in position issues a prohibition writ against a court that is lower in position to prevent the latter from exceeding its jurisdiction or usurping a jurisdiction that it does not possess. Certiorari. The literal meaning of the writ of certiorari is to be certified or to be informed. This writ is issued by a court higher in authority to a lower court or tribunal, ordering them either to transfer a case pending with them to itself or quash their order in a case. Quo warranto. The literal meaning of the writ of quo warranto is by what authority or warrant. Supreme Court or High Court issue this writ to prevent illegal usurpation of a public office by a person. So, habeas corpus protects the right of individual liberty of Indian citizen. Then mandamus writ is issued to public official whenever they break the law of the Constitution. Prohibition writ is issued by the higher court to the lower court whenever lower court cross the limits of their power. Then certiorari is issued by the higher court to the lower court for ordering them to transfer the case or quash their order in a case. Quo warranto is issued by the Supreme Court or High Court whenever anybody hold the public office unlawfully. Who among the following moved the objective resolution in the Constituent Assembly? Options are given to you. Time is also given to you. What is the correct option? The correct option is Jawaharlal Nehru. Let us know some important facts about the objective resolution. It was introduced on 13 December 1946, presented by Jawaharlal Nehru, laying down the underlying principles of the Constitution, which later became the preamble of the Constitution. It was unanimously adopted on 22nd January 1947. Now the time for quiz. Who among the following was the constitutional advisor to the Constituent Assembly? Options are given. Within time you have to select the correct option. The correct option is Sir B.N. Rao. Now some important facts. Appointment. Sir B.N. Rao was appointed as the constitutional advisor on the establishment of the Constituent Assembly on July 1, 1946. He was, however, not a member of the Constituent Assembly, and his service to the Constituent Assembly was purely honorary. Then designation. Sir Benegal Narsingh Rao was an eminent civil servant and foremost Indian jurist of his time. He helped draft the Constitution of Burma and India. He was the permanent representative of India to the UN Security Council from 1949 to 1952. Then in February 1952, he became a judge of the International Court of Justice and served in that capacity till his demise in November 1953 in Zurich. Sir B.N. Rao visited several countries, studied the constitutions of several countries, and prepared the first draft of the constitution. The draft prepared by him was then taken by the drafting committee headed by B.R. Ambedkar for further discussion and various amendments. The draft cleared by the drafting committee was then discussed and voted upon by the Constituent Assembly in India. The Government of India issued a postal stamp in 1988 on the occasion of his birth centenary. Now the quiz time. Which article of the Indian Constitution provides the provision for the Vice President of India? The correct option is Article 63. Now some important facts about the topic. The Vice President of the Republic of India is the second highest constitutional office in India after the President. Article 63 of Indian Constitution states that there shall be a Vice President of India. Then designation and functions of the Vice President. The Vice President of India is also ex officio chairperson of the Rajya Sabha. This is very important question. When a bill is introduced in Rajya Sabha, the Vice President decides whether it is a financial bill or not. If he is of the opinion a bill introduced in the Rajya Sabha is a money bill, he would refer the case to the Speaker of the Lok Sabha for deciding it. The Vice President acts as President in the absence of the President due to death, resignation, impeachment, or other situations. The Vice President of India also acts as the Honorable Chancellor of Punjab University, Chandigarh. Now we will discuss some important articles related to Vice President of India, which is very important for exam perspective. Article 66. The Indian Constitution states that the manner of election of the Vice President. Article 69. Provision for the oath or affirmation for the office of Vice President. Article 71. 1. Supreme Court can also remove the Vice President for committing electoral malpractices and not fulfilling the eligibility criteria for the Rajya Sabha member while in office. It is also the duty of Supreme Court to examine the doubts raised in connection with the conduct of Vice President and remove the Vice President if found committing contempt of Constitution. Article 122. The Deputy Chairman in the Rajya Sabha cannot be challenged in the court of law. Now the question is, which of the following is not a function of the Chief Secretary of State? Within the time, you have to select the correct option. Did you select the correct option? The correct option is to report to Union Home Minister regarding affairs of the state. Now some important facts. Origination of the office. The office originated in the central government during the rule of Lord Wellesley in 1799. C.H. Barlow was the first appointed to this office. The post at the state level was created in 1858 when the East India Company's rule in Bengal ended and India, except for the princely estates, was brought under the direct administration of the government in Whitehall in London, beginning the official colonial period under the British Empire. Position. The post of Chief Secretary is the senior-most position in the civil services of the states and union territories of India. The position is a cadre post for the Indian administrative services. The Chief Secretary is the chief advisor to the Chief Minister in all matters of the cabinet. Then appointment. The Chief Secretary is chosen by the Chief Minister. As the appointment of Chief Secretary is an executive action of the Chief Minister, it is taken in the name of the Governor of the state. Then tenure. The office of Chief Secretary has been excluded from the operation of the tenure system. There is no fixed tenure for this office. What are the role of Chief Secretary of the State Government of India? He is Head of Civil Services, Secretary to the Cabinet, Advisor to the CM, Resource Person of State Government, Head of Secretariat Departments, Coordinator of Civil Service Efforts, Head of State Cabinet Secretariat. Now we will see some recommendation which was given by Administrative Reform Commission about this post. In 1973, this office was standardized on the recommendation of the Administrative Reform Commission, and the post was equated with that of Secretary to the Government of India, both in status and emoluments. Since 1973, the Chief Secretary was the senior-most civil servant in all the states. Before that, he was considered junior to the Financial Commissioner in Punjab and members of the boards of revenue in UP. But in Tamil Nadu, he was the senior-most civil servant. Then rank is also important. It is also asked in many competitive exams. The Chief Secretary is the senior-most cadre post in the state administration, ranking 23rd on the Indian order of precedence. Which of the following committee made a recommendation that Election Commission should be a 3-member body? The correct option is Tar Kunde Committee. About major committees on the electoral reforms, questions have been repeatedly asked in many competitive exams as well as other exams. Tar Kunde or JP Committee. Jayaprakash Narayan, on behalf of the Citizens for Democracy, had appointed a committee to study and report on a scheme for electoral reforms in 1974, and it is known as JP Committee or Tar Kunde Committee. The committee submitted its report in 1975. The members of the committee were E.P.W. de Costa, A.Z. Nurani, R.D. Desai, P.H. Mavalankar, M.R. Masani, and V.M. Tar Kunde. The important recommendation of this committee were: the Election Commission should be a 3-member body. The minimum age of voting should be 18 years. The TV and radio should be placed under the control of autonomous statutory corporation. A voters' council should be formed in as many constituencies as possible, which can help in free and fair election. Then Dinesh Goswami Committee was appointed in accordance with the Janata Dal's election commitment in May 4, 1990. The major recommendations were: time limit for by-elections. No candidate should be allowed to contest an election from more than 2 constituencies. The age of candidate for assembly seats should be reduced to 21 and for the council to 25. Army and paramilitary personnel, diplomats and other placed outside India should be allowed proxy voting. A series of legislative measures should be set up to eradicate booth capturing, rigging and intimidating. The committee also called for amendment of the anti-defection law to restrict disqualification. After that, Indrajit Gupta Committee was appointed on a state funding of election in 1998. Indrajit Gupta was the chairman of the All-Party Parliamentary Committee on State Funding of Elections. The 8-member committee that set up by the All-Party Conference in May 1998 submitted its report in January 1999 with the following recommendation. State funding should be in kind, that is, no financial support is to be given to parties, and also part of the financial burden of the parties should be initially borne by the state. A rupees 600 crore contribution from the centre and an equal amount by the states annually towards an election corpus fund for the purpose. Only EC recognized political parties should be given the state support in terms of printing material and facilities, electronic media time, vehicles and fuel, etc. Political parties should compulsorily submit their annual account to the income tax department, showing their receipts and expenditure, failing which the party or the candidate forgoes the state support. Complete account of the election expenditure should be filled by the parties to the EC. All donations above rupees 10,000 by the parties should be in the form of check, draft, and the names of the donors should be disclosed in the accounts. Ban on donations by government companies for political purposes will continue, but whether other companies can donate or not is to be determined by the Parliament. The Election Commission has produced a comprehensive set of proposals regarding electoral reforms and implemented many of the recommendations of the above committees. The Justice Jeevan Reddy Committee appointed in November 2004. The major recommendations were: the Commission advocated a total ban on splits and mergers of political parties during the terms of the Lok Sabha or Legislative Assembly. Once a member has been elected on a ticket of a particular recognized party, then he should remain in that party till the dissolution of the House or till the end of his membership by resignation or otherwise. The Commission has recommended an adequate representation. Which of the following Constitutional Amendment Act provided for reservation of seats for scheduled tribes of Nagaland, Meghalaya, Mizoram and Arunachal Pradesh state assemblies? Fifty-seventh Amendment. 57th Amendment Act had reserved seats for the scheduled tribes in the legislative assemblies of the states of Arunachal Pradesh, Meghalaya, Mizoram and Nagaland. Amended the Articles 330 and 332. Act came into force from 21st September 1987. The Campa Act or Compensatory Afforestation Fund Act was enacted in which year? The correct option is 2016. Now some important facts. Compensatory afforestation means that every time forest land is diverted for non-forest purposes such as mining or industry, the user agency pays for planting forest over an equal area of non-forest land, or when such land is not available, twice the area of degraded forest land. Campa Act or Compensatory Afforestation Fund Act is an Indian legislation that seeks to provide an appropriate institutional mechanism both at the center and in each state and union territory to ensure expeditious utilization in efficient and transparent manner of amounts released in lieu of forest land diverted for non-forest purpose, which would mitigate impact of diversion of such forest land. The CAF Act was passed by the Centre in 2016 and the related rules were notified in 2018. The funds can be used for treatment of catchment areas, assisted natural generation, forest management, wildlife protection and management, relocation of villages from protected areas, managing human-wildlife conflict, training and awareness generation, supply of wood-saving devices and allied activities. Wildlife Protection Act of 1972 consists of how many schedules? The answer is 6. Now some important facts. The Wildlife Protection Act 1972 is an act of the Parliament of India enacted for protection of plants and animal species. India's Wildlife Protection Act of 1972 is a comprehensive piece of legislation that regulates sanctuaries, national parks and zoos, among other protected locations. Its primary aim is to curb the illegal trade in wildlife and the derivative parts. Schedules under the Wildlife Protection Act 1972. It has 6 schedules. Schedule 1, it covers endangered species that need rigorous protection. The species are granted protection from poaching, killing, trading, etc. Schedule 2, animals under this list are also accorded high protection with the prohibition on their trade. They cannot be hunted except under threat to human life or if they are suffering from a disease, disorder that goes beyond recovery. Schedule 3 and 4. Species that are not endangered are included under Schedule 3 and 4. Schedule 5. This schedule contains animals that are considered as vermin, small wild animals that carry disease and destroy plants and food. These animals can be hunted. Schedule 6. It provides for regulation in cultivation of a specified plant and restricts its possession, sale, and transportation. Which of the following committees of the Constituent Assembly was chaired by Jawaharlal Nehru? The answer is Union Power Committee. Now we need to know about the committees of the Constituent Assembly. The Constituent Assembly appointed a total of 22 committees to deal with different tasks of constitution making. Out of these, 10 were on procedural affairs and 12 on substantive affairs. Out of these, 8 were major committees and others were minor committees. The committees on procedural affairs: Steering Committee, Rules of Procedure Committee, Committee on the Effect of Indian Independence Act of 1947, Orders of Business Committee, Credential Committee, House Committee, Hindi Translation Committee, Urdu Translation Committee, Finance and Staff Committee, Press Gallery Committee. Now we need to know about the major committees on which questions have been repeatedly asked. Drafting Committee, Chairman B.R. Ambedkar. Union Power Committee, headed by Jawaharlal Nehru. Union Constitution Committee, headed by Jawaharlal Nehru. Provincial Constitution Committee, Vallabhbhai Patel. Then Advisory Committee on Fundamental Rights, Minorities and Tribal and Excluded Areas, chaired by Vallabhbhai Patel. This committee had the following subcommittees. Fundamental Rights Subcommittee, headed by J.B. Kriplani. Minorities Subcommittee, Harendra Kumar Mukherjee. Northeast Frontier Tribal Areas and Assam Excluded and Partially Excluded Areas Subcommittee, Gopinath Bardoli. Excluded and Partially Excluded Areas other than those in Assam Subcommittee, A.B. Thakkar. Rules of Procedure Committee, headed by Rajendra Prasad. States Committee, Committee for Negotiating with States, Jawaharlal Nehru. Steering Committee, headed by Rajendra Prasad. National Flag and HOC Committee, headed by Rajendra Prasad. Committee for the Function of the Constitution Assembly, G.V. Mavalankar. House Committee, B. Pattavi Sitaramaiah. Language Committee, Moturi Satyanarayana. Order of Business Committee, K.M. Munshi. Who among the following was not a member of the Indian Constituent Assembly? The correct option is Jayaprakash Narayan. Who said India's constitution was born more in fear and trepidation than in hope and inspiration? Paul Brass. Which Indian artist decorated the handwritten copy of the Constitution? Nandlal Bose. The handwritten copy of the Constitution of India has been preserved in the Survey of India in Dehradun. The original handwritten Constitution has been kept in the National Museum in Delhi. Prem Bihari Narayan Rayjada wrote the original Constitution of India. Nandlal Bose, an artist of Shanti Niketan, decorated the handwritten copy of the Constitution. Who among the following headed the Advisory Committee on Fundamental Rights, Minorities, and Tribal and Excluded Areas, a committee under the Constituent Assembly? About this question we have already discussed. The correct answer is Vallabhbhai Patel. The first meeting of the Constituent Assembly had taken place on December 9, 1946, was presided by whom as its interim president? This question is very important. Dr. Sachidanand Sinha. The first meeting of the Constituent Assembly took place on December 9, 1946 at New Delhi with Dr. Sachidanand being elected as the interim president of the assembly. However, on December 11, 1946, Dr. Rajendra Prasad was elected as the president and S.C. Mukherjee as the vice president of the Constituent Assembly. The national anthem was adopted by the Constituent Assembly on which of the following day? The answer is 24th January 1947. The drafting committee had two distinguished jurists and lawyers along with the chairman Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. They were Alladi Krishna Swamy Iyer and K.M. Munshi. Drafting committee is also one of the most important topics. It was appointed on 29th August 1947. The drafting committee had 7 members, B.R. Ambedkar as the chairman, Members were Alladi Krishna Swami Iyer and Gopala Swami, K.M. Munshi, Muhammad Sadullah and Madhav Rao. He replaced B.L. Mittal, who resigned due to ill health. This is also an important point. T.T. Krishnamachari, he replaced G.P. Khetan, who died in 1948. If you want to get more videos on these topics, please like, share and subscribe.